Hi guys, welcome to Basement Supercar Build, the channel where we see if an average guy like me can design and build his own mid-engine car. This video will be a highlights video of the work that was finished this week. If you want to see the actual work take place, watch the full-length video for this week. And with that out of the way, let's get started on this week's video.
Well, I was originally planning on starting off this week by finishing these tubes running from the bottom of the frame here up to the top of the roll bar. And to do this, I'd have to fabricate and weld some little tabs or tangs here on the back of this bar for this top rod end to attach to. And I got to thinking, once I weld those on, they're going to be in the way of me making a template to do this firewall, which was the next thing on my list of things to do. So I'm going to go ahead and make the firewall first, and then we'll come back to this. And I went to a local salvage store, like a building supply salvage this morning, just to kind of look around and see what kind of materials they had for a firewall. And this is what I wound up purchasing. I'm going to laminate. I have a piece of wood, this, and this fan fold foam. This is a 1/4 inch thick piece of masonite. The fan fold foam is a 1/4 inch thick. And then I found this material, which is 1/8 inch thick, and it has a center. It's almost like a rubber or a soft plastic center with an aluminum skin on the outside and inside bonded to it. So I think I'm going to put all three of those together. So the metal would face the engine, then the foam would be in the center, and then the wood would be on the inside of the car towards the cabin area. And I'm going to laminate all three of those together, sandwich them, and that should be about 5/8 inch thick. And I think the combination of the foam and the wood and the plastic and the metal all together should be good for heat and sound proofing the cabin area of the car. I will also, on the side facing the engine, put some self-adhesive or adhesive backed heat reflective material, at least in the center around the engine where the exhaust manifolds are, and possibly the whole thing. But that's my plan for right now, and I think what I'm going to do first is try to figure out a way. I'm going to make a tool that I can stick in here and write around the inside of this tube and run a pencil or an ink pen through a hole on a center line and get an exact template marked on this wood for the shape of this roll cage. I want to show you what I've got done so far today. I'm cutting and fitting two of these panels. I made this little template, and maybe you can see better here. I slid the inside of the ink pen down inside, and then I walked this edge around the tube. You can see it's notched here for the tube to get the right distance. And tracing the inside of the tube on this masonite, I was able to get a nice pattern. You can see there's just a tiny gap around this edge, so it made a really nice pattern. And that piece of masonite fits in there really nice. I still need to trim for a window because I'm going to bring a piece straight across, and then I'm going to come down to this piece here where I've started cutting and notching. You can see how it notches around. The hose is in the center. The center console of the floor pan will come back and cover that hole. It's notched all the way to the floor, and I've started notching up here around the sides. But I'm doing this shape here and coming back. That'll leave a void area on the back side for my plumbing, my fuel lines, vacuum lines, vent lines, and all of that on both sides. It'll leave me, there's about a 4-inch gap there to run electrical lines and all this kinds of things through, down to the fuel tanks. And you can see this. There'll also be a piece of the top of this masonite here that's cut out, and there'll be a carbon fiber insert on the inside between the seats that attaches to that and covers it. and it'll be insulated on the inside somehow for heat. and for noise. And so far this is looking good. Still got some more fitting to do on this bottom piece, and the top will need to be trimmed to the correct height. I don't know what that is yet, so I've left it a little bit long. But that's what this firewall is looking like so far. And I guess we'll continue fitting this bottom piece to get it exactly in the correct location, and then we'll work on measuring and inserting this top cap here, this jog in the firewall, and start putting those pieces together. So I guess let's get busy doing that. I want to give you a little update on what I'm doing here. Most of you have probably seen this before, but if anyone hasn't, this is a little homemade router table that I made. I just took a normal router and mounted it to the bottom of a stand, an old bandsaw stand, and a table. And you can put different router bits in here and do different edges, but I have a flush cut bit, has a roller bearing that rides along the cut edge on the MDF panel, and then it cuts the metal flush with the edge. And you can see the little shavings here from the plastic that's in between the layers. And this is what it looks like. I used some double-sided tape and taped this in place and just walk it around. The bearing rolls along the wood edge and cuts the plastic and the aluminum sheets flush. Gives me a nice clean edge all the way around. And I will sandwich the foam in between the two and just cut the foam with a knife. A good sharp knife will cut the foam really easily. And then I'll have all three pieces of this cut to size and ready to laminate together eventually. Not quite ready to do that yet, but at least all three pieces will be made, and I can position it exactly where I want it on the roll bar and start locating these little welding mounting tabs on the roll bar and tack weld them into position. But I guess let's go ahead and get started on maybe positioning this piece or cutting the foam or something and getting this ready to mount in. Okay, we have the foam pieces bonded, glued to the aluminum sheets, and I walked on them, pressed them down, tried to get good adhesion everywhere on the glue. I need to let these sit overnight for 24 hours to completely dry, and then if all goes well, tomorrow night, if they are bonded like they're supposed to be, I'll come back and take a razor blade and trim the foam up flush with the edges of the aluminum and sand it and clean it up real nice, and then double check, make sure the masonite fits and lines up correctly, and when it does, or if it does, when it does, we will go ahead and tape the pieces together and transfer the holes through the foam and the aluminum, so all the holes will be in all of the parts. And once that is complete, I think we'll be ready to start aligning this back bulkhead here with the window in it with the steel roll cage tube and make a fixture to hold the little mounting tabs in place while I tack weld them on. But I guess we'll leave these to sit overnight and see what we have tomorrow night. Well, I want to show you what I have finished here and kind of what it looks like up close. These are the main components for the firewall here between the engine and the cabin area. You can see the window I have here cut out to see back through the rear glass. And I actually have the rear glass sitting here. It will mount, I don't know, anywhere from 3 or 4 inches rearward of that, but I have it laying here on the roll bar and taped in place, just trying to get a little bit of a visual. I was sitting in the seat and just trying to see what I can actually see out that rear glass. I have 2 cutouts here. The lower one is for hoses going into the firewall, and the top one is kind of clearance here for hoses to mount to the engine. There will be a trim piece that covers both of those holes and bolts all around the perimeter, trim pieces up here at the top of the roll bar. It comes down and incorporates the window opening over to the glass. You know, a couple of inches wide. It'll roll in and touch the glass and bolt in place here. I'll have trim coming down the sides. Most likely there'll be a speaker pod here in this trim panel. It's the only place I see that I have room for speakers. And you can get a visual here. These mechanical fasteners will go away. I think, at least for right now, I'm planning on pressing PIM studs into the masonite. There'll be flush PIM studs. These masonite pieces will be covered with fabric of some kind, either leather or suede or alcantara, something, and the material will lap around the edges, glue on the back side, and then bolt all together. And once that's all bolted together and cinched up, all the seams will disappear. And I think once the trim panels are all put in and attached to that, that should trim out and look real nice. But this is what we've accomplished this week, and I guess that's going to be about it for this week's video. I'll see you guys again next week, where we'll be welding the mounting tabs onto the roll bar and down on the frame of the car so we can attach this bulkhead in place permanently and try to get it finished up. I'll see you guys again in 1 week.